Welcome to the Collector Chatter podcast. This is episode 18. I am Miguel, your host, with my co-host Charlie, and we are here with another great episode for you guys today. Today's episode, we're going to feature Disney. I'm wearing my man right here, the original Mickey Mouse.
Haunted Mansion Funko shirt.
Super excited for this one. Obviously, we're going to start off with like news and stuff like that, like we normally do, but then we'll do the second half of the episode kind of more tailored around Disney, specific to Funko, and then also maybe some other collectible stuff that we'll get into that have to do with the Disney brand. But starting it off with the news, Charlie, I mean, this week was pretty good, right? I mean, we have a lot of news.
And then
we're
going
to do a new
rumors.
segment of some rumors. Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of rumors lately, and we kind of sometimes throw them into the news, but I wanted to separate it because there's a lot of rumors that are out there. We do have a couple, sources and sites that we look through. So when we get to the rumors, just know that those aren't like confirmed things. Those are obviously just rumors, but they usually come out pretty correct. Yeah. So we'll start off with standard news though. Is there something that was like right off the top of your head that was exciting for you?
Right off the top of my head is actually the second wave of the Walt Disney World 50th anniversary line. This is a pretty awesome wave. One that I really enjoyed, which kind of reminded me of the 65th anniversary for Disneyland train line. They did the People Mover, which is a ride in Disney World, and it has all different characters. Ones with Mickey, Pluto, Minnie. There's going to be an exclusive Stitch one to the Funko store, and you can, put them all together to make the ride. But they're of course going to be all sold individually, and I really hope the Funko exclusive one isn't hard to get. But I do like that it was only one this time, because the train, there was a bunch that were Funko exclusive, and I got none of them, which was really upsetting. I have everything besides the Funko store exclusive ones. So I'm happy they limit it to one, but I think it will be probably pretty hard to get, especially because it's Stitch, which is a really big, character for them.
That was the only exclusive at all with that train, right? Yeah, because last time they had even Amazon exclusives for the other train and stuff. So so at least this one's gonna seem like it's more common, I guess, and a little bit easier to get. Hopefully,
Amazon actually has exclusive this time, which was my favorite of them all. It's going to be under the Pop Town line. It's a Space Mountain. It is legitimately the ride, what it looks like outside. The first wave had them in Mickey in a Space Mountain car, but this is the ride. Even as a sign, I mean, that's one of my favorite rides of all time, and that mold is pretty legit. Like, I have no complaints with that. How I was a little upset about the castle from the first run. Like, this is, to me, it'll be a personal grail for me. I mean, it's not going to be hard to get, but like, I just think it's really cool. This second wave, in my opinion, is much better than the first one. I would have hit the ground running with the Space Mountain one. I think it's awesome, but I'm happy they announced it. And then there's also going to be another Peter Pan's Flight pop. They made one with Peter Pan in the Disneyland line. Now this time they're going to have Captain Hook's in it, so that looks really cool. And then we're also getting a repeat of one from the first line, the dog from Pirates of the Caribbean, but it's going to be flocked, which is awesome. I mean, that's perfect for a flocked, and that's going to be a box lunch exclusive. And then there also is Mickey from Philar Magic, which is it's a music show where he's a conductor. It's like a 3D show in Magic Kingdom, and they're having a common one, and then there's going to be a Hot Topic exclusive, which I believe is a diamond one. So that pretty much rounds of the line. And there was 2 pop keychains as well. And they actually also came out with a bunch, which I thought this was interesting. I kind of wish they made them in pops. I'm wondering if they're going to, or they're keeping with the plushie line. They made a bunch of plushies of like all of the icons for the park. So for Hollywood Studios, they did Tower of Terror. They had, Spaceship Earth for Epcot, the castle for Magic Kingdom, and the Animal Kingdom, they had the Tree of Life. And then I think they also threw in, I'm trying to remember now, there was another random one that was just within the line. Regardless, they came out with these plushies, and this is a pretty big line, which I feel like it's going to even have another wave after this.
I was going to say it's a pretty big, because the first wave it wasn't huge, but it had like obviously significant amount of pops, and then you knew there was stuff that probably would get added to it, like seeing the ones you see now, you're like, all right, well, this makes sense why they would get that. But then you also could still think of a couple rides or a couple specific things because it's all for the 50th anniversary, so obviously it's a big deal, specifically to Disney World. But I was going to say, so off of all the stuff you said, the flocked one, I think is amazing. I think they should have only really dropped that
Made the
version of
flock.
him. I mean,
I agree.
yeah, I think it's going to be super cool as a dog, obviously flocked. I think the first wave wasn't as exciting because like the ride, like the Space Mountain ride, like they just like look a little weird. It's not necessarily like you don't think of, because when you're in there, it's pitch black most of the time. Anyways, you're not thinking of what the actual ride looks like. Yeah, the actual cart and vehicle that you're in. So like the outside of it is famous. Like you know what it looks like. Like so that's gonna be pretty cool. That it's like a like is it considered a like
it's
what is it
considered
considered
a pop town, I think.
Is it considered a town?
Which weirdly, I just looked up the other plushie is of Space Mountain. So they're really going hard with Space Mountain.
So that's a good one. And then even the actual people mover, that's a cool idea. Obviously, it's pretty well known for Disney World. I just think it's a little weird that like Stitch, like to me, Stitch kind of like doesn't fit in with the rest of the characters, but they milk Stitch so much with Funko. So I guess that makes sense why they made him one of them. But yeah, I feel like they should have just kept the core like Mickey and Pluto and Minnie and Goofy and those instead of like going with Stitch. But I mean, there's Stitch collectors.
I think one is definitely to milk the Stitch. This is totally could be out of the box. I'm just thinking way too much into it because I'm a huge Disney fan. The people mover does go through around the Stitch ride, which is now closed. I don't know if that's why they did it. Probably not. I'm just giving them a reason why they probably did it, but it's definitely just because of Stitch, which they make way too many Stitch pops. So he is kind of random. It should have been like, there isn't a Goofy one. There should have been a Goofy or Donald. So yeah,
it just makes you think random. Like, even though it's a Funko Shop exclusive, like, will it be one of those ones that sells, or is it going to be one of those ones that kind of sits around? So it's going to be interesting to see, because there are some Funko Shop exclusives still to this day that for a few months now have been out and don't sell out.
It's so strange. Like, I don't know if they're making more now and they did in the past. Like, we've said this in past episodes before, but like there were times where like getting the Funko Shop exclusives were like getting the con pops, like when they dropped. And even some of the con pops this year were easy to get the Funko exclusives. Like, I don't know if they're just making more. I feel like that's what they're doing. I know some people's like, oh, Funko's dying. Like, I don't buy that at all. I just think they're making more and they're just not limited edition.
Yeah, I think it could be a combo. It could be a couple of them are just not as nice or not as exciting, or they're just kind of replicating too much molds that they don't need to be doing. But overall, I think it's that the quantity of that isn't as exclusive as it used to be. The sticker and it only being sold at Funko Shop makes it exclusive, but not in the sense of like that there's very minimal amount and you need to go after it. I think that's kind of what changed with Funko exclusives, at least within the last year, for sure. But yeah, that was a huge drop. Obviously, being a Disney episode, it's great that we had that big news anyways. But switching over to another big drop, which I know I was very excited for, and I know you were also excited. A lot of our viewers and people who listen are also probably so excited. If you are DC fans, the Batman movie, which will be releasing pretty soon, now actually has a line of Funko Pops. And I know that we saw this line a while back. We saw, like we said, we've been seeing rumors and stuff, and we're kind of tapped into that type of side of things. But this was rumored and it was true. So they actually dropped a huge Batman line. And this thing is like crazy, especially for it being like a new movie. DC hasn't, I feel like we haven't gotten this from DC a lot. This is more of like a Marvel thing that they're doing, which is awesome, because we talked about this when we talked about Marvel and DC, that they don't do this so often with DC movies. And it being Batman, obviously I'm a huge Batman fan, and you're a Batman fan as well. The movie, I know we're excited for. Both of us can agree that we're super excited for this movie. All the actors that are in it, super pumped for how this is going to be a very dark storyline. But I love these pops. Like,
they
awesome. Look like you can tell it's them, all the actors. Like, they did a really good job. There's maybe 7 different Batman pops. Like, there's a standard one, then there's one with him in a different pose. There's a Hot Topic exclusive. There's a Pop in a Box exclusive, which that one is awesome because he's no cowl, nothing on.
I love that one.
And he's got the eye black.
Like a big look in the first trailer.
Huge trailer, yeah. Which was always something that was funny that no one ever spoke about. Was like, if he's wearing that and his eyes are all black, how are his eyes black? And this is perfect that we see that. So that's an awesome one. Then we also got Selena Kyle as Catwoman, of course. We have her with a chase. So that's
which
cool.
Is awesome.
We're getting chases. She's also on a ride, which is a motorcycle that she rides with the helmet on. That one's a pretty cool one. Batman himself is also in a ride, which is his Batmobile, which now is like a Charger looking car, like the way it
like a
looks. But
muscle
that's
car. Yeah.
yeah,
So
super
cool.
cool to see that. Then we also got Oswald, who is of course a penguin, and he has a chase, which I think the chase of him, he's just like without like a coat or something on, right? It's more
Yeah,
like
and I
a
think his
it's in like a
face looks
button
a
shirt.
little like beat up,
Okay, yeah. So then there's that one. Then we got the Riddler, which
which is
I'm
awesome.
super excited for that role and how that's gonna look. That one's super cool. Very similar to the trailer, like with the tape and everything. So you're getting a lot out of the trailer. So it's not like we're really getting too many like spoilers necessarily with this. So I like that because it's not going to necessarily spoil the movie. Then what else we got? We had two plushies. Speaking of plushies, you said with Disney,
Yeah,
there's a Catwoman and a Batman plushie, which is cool. That's also, and then a 10-inch.
which is
I
awesome.
said
Been
this for
waiting
so
for
long.
this.
How many times did I talk about this? We talked about this when we said the 18-inch Batman, how it's so cool. And I was like, why is there not a 10-inch Batman? And honestly, I'm a little shocked that this is the first 10-inch Batman. It's going to be a very specific to a movie. It's not like just a general Batman mold. It's not a comic one. It's this one. But
Which
I'm
I
so
like.
psyched for it.
I'm pumped. I think the suit looks awesome. I'm super, super excited for this movie. Like, I am a Robert Pattinson all day being Batman fan. Like, I wanted him to be Batman weirdly before he was announced. My friends will tell you when we were saying who we think could be Batman. And so when he was chosen, I was like, holy crap. Like, they actually went with an actor like that. And yeah, this line is fire, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think they did such a great job with the details because, like, this Batman, obviously every Batman has a different suit. So this Batman is very, very specific suit to the way it's like he can make this suit. I think that's kind of
Yes.
like the story that they're going to go with. And you can see even his like cowl and everything he
The
has on his forehead,
detail
like
in it
how
is
it's detailed
amazing.
and like, yeah, it's almost like patched on and everything. And it's just like you see in the trailer. So I am very hyped for this. I mean, the ride, I know I pre-ordered the ride, or Funko Shop dropped a couple of these officially. So the ride, both his ride and Selena Kyle ride are both on there. And I think two standard Batman
Yeah.
ones are on there as well. But there's a Target exclusive, Hot Topic exclusive, and a Pop in a Box exclusive, which are all going to drop. And then they're taking, which I didn't realize, but they're taking the 4 common molds and they're making it into a 4-pack for Walmart, which I don't like that it's the same molds. I wish they did do something a little different.
I didn't realize that when it was first.
Yeah, I saw it afterwards. But either way, that's a huge drop. I mean, you guys know we've talked about it plenty of times when it comes to like being Batman fans and stuff. But specifically to this movie, I know we're going to be bringing up probably more things about this movie in the coming episodes once the movie actually drops. But yeah, that was a huge line. And it was such a big wave right away.
Big wave, though. Are you surprised it was missing a soda, or they just decided not to announce it in this like big wave announcement? Because when they had the plushies, I'm like, I really wish they announced a soda.
Yeah, they even have keychains.
Oh yeah,
the Riddler keychain is actually out. So I was surprised. Because it was such a big wave, you feel like they should have announced it. But I feel like there's still stuff missing. Like, I think we're still going to get a soda. I would assume that we should, at least the Batman, if anything, get that version of the soda. We're also probably going to get merchandise. We haven't seen T-shirts yet. They're gonna drop totally T-shirts, stuff like that. So I think there's still some stuff that might be waiting for that maybe will kind of be spoilerish. So maybe that's why they're waiting a bit. But I do hope that they at least drop at least one of them, because I like that they've been doing more Batman molds rather than the old school style. So that should be something that's going to be hopefully dropping, which I think this year we're going to get a lot of sodas anyways. So I guess we'll see when these actually drop. But yeah, that was a huge, huge drop. I know we were very excited. Most of it was pre-order, like I said. However, Funko Shop themselves dropped a few of them. So which was a little weird that they dropped like part of them.
Part of me is wondering if they just have some of those already in, like they already have the inventory, because this movie obviously was super delayed. Yeah. So I wonder if that's why. I mean, they don't normally announce something like that and then like have them to buy immediately
right away.
Very rare. Yeah. And I even love too, like, even though there's so many Batman molds or / Bruce Wayne, they're all worthy of getting, in my opinion. I'm not just saying that because I'm a big Batman fan. Like, I think they did a really good job of making them all look different. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to throw that out there, which I'm curious what, you guys watching or listening, like, drop in the comments, like, what do you agree with that? Because there are times where they totally overdo a character and just barely change it. In my opinion, this Batman, they're all worthy of it.
Yeah, I agree too, because it's not even just like it's there's probably two Batmans that you're like, all right, what's the difference? And you got to look at it, and then you notice that like, okay, he's holding something else in his hand. But
Yeah.
besides that, like you got one where he has like a different look, like wing looking suit. That's
Yes.
completely different.
Awesome.
You got him as Bruce Wayne, of course, was
All clean
Robert
cut.
Pattinson.
Yep.
It's like literally him. And then you got the one where he's like partially in his suit, but with no cowl on. So like they definitely did. And then the car, the ride version. So
Yeah.
they definitely mix up. The only one that's duplicate is the 10-inch. The 10-inch and the standard Batman are the exact same mold,
Yes.
just two different sizes.
But which is
That's
what
the
they
only
normally do, right?
Yeah. Usually with like a base common, if they're going to make a 10-inch, he's based off of one of those. So it makes sense. But there's enough different versions that you can still get a variety, like with different Batmans. But yeah, that was a huge drop. I mean, besides that and the Disney, those were probably the two biggest. We had some other news. Just to quickly run through. I know they announced the Winnie the Pooh in the Rain, which is a box lunch exclusive. Pretty cute. I saw box lunches. Some of my local ones on Instagram were posting up that they had those in store. Mickey as Tiger, where he's wearing like a tiger suit. That one is actually was rumored, and then now it actually got announced, and that is exclusive to like a.
I think like you can only get it in Asia.
Asian, right? It's like an Asian, something specific to that.
For the lunar year.
For the lunar year, it looks pretty cool. But yeah, if that's something that's going to be exclusive there, that might be something that might have some pretty good value, I guess. Besides that, we also had an announcement of some Target pops like new Boba Fett, and then a Flock Knuckles, which that'll be pretty cool. I know with the new Sonic movie, I'm sure we're going to get a whole wave of the new Sonic
I think
characters.
For the new Target Con. So they're clearly going with like red characters, because the Boba Fett one's going to be a red chrome, which they had made the Mandalorian.
That's where it is. Yep. So that'll be when you get the red, like the red card style stuff. We also had a couple Best Buy drops, supposedly. Well, that they're going to be dropping. Their website is showing some of these for some Gotham Knight stuff, some Dragon Ball Super, some Morbius, which I thought we definitely found interesting, because Morbius now. Morbius is a movie that was supposed to drop like 2 years ago, and it literally continues to get delayed. It was supposed to drop this month, right? This month, right? January, and it's now April, so that continues to get delayed. Which that's an interesting thing. I mean, I don't want to go super into that side of movies or whatever, but it just makes you think like, is it with COVID and stuff? I'm sure that's part of it, but at the same time, is it reshoots now because of stuff that happened with Spider-Man? So like, it just keeps us thinking, but it's just annoying that it keeps getting pushed back.
I agree. But one thing I find interesting about it, and I wonder if Funko has learned a lesson, is within this past year, they would have dropped the pops already. They did it with Shang-Chi. Now, I know this is like a Sony movie, so it's not like part of the Disney license and the MCU. So I don't know, like the lines probably will not be as big. Just like the Venom line legitimately was 2 pops and then a Comic-Con exclusive one. But I'm surprised these haven't already like dropped in a store. So I'm hoping Funko now doesn't do that like they did in the past, which also kind of makes me feel like they held back the Batman pops, and that's why some of them are already available on Funko.com. So I'm happy they're doing.
Because like if this movie was supposed to drop so long ago, that they have molds made and everything. We talked about this in the past, so Funko definitely probably has some of these on hand. So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to, because I haven't seen any glam shots of them or anything.
There's been nothing.
But that this is a big deal. It's a pretty big movie. It's Marvel, so that there's going to be some kind of pops, even if it's a small line. So definitely interested. I mean, why they're holding back, whether maybe they're because of the movie keeps getting pushed back and they're waiting for that concrete for sure to drop the announcements, but they're supposedly now showing up. And I believe what's happening is on Best Buy, you're seeing like a silhouette of like just a pop out of an actual thing, and it's saying that it's Morbius, so that's why people know that they're coming out, but they don't know exactly what it is. So I guess just keep an eye out for that, because those will be coming soon. An announcement, something that we'll go into more in a future episode. January 20th is the Fun TV for this year, so obviously that's a big deal, because that's when they're going to announce a ton of official stuff as well. So look out for that. When we get closer to that date, I'm sure we'll do an episode kind of more centered around that. But that was something that was pretty big. And then one of the last ones was the Valentine's Day. I know we talked about this last week with Sensei quickly, but now we actually seen specifics. So it looks like they just took that Mandalorian line, because it's literally like that line that already released,
and gave it the Valentine's Day look.
Yeah, Grogu, Luke with Grogu, and then also in Ahsoka, which looks pretty cool. But yeah, with the Valentine's pink.
Super random though. So like they haven't like put them up for pre-order or anything, but they first had their official pre-order / like shots on Urban Outfitters. I don't know if you saw that. It was like super random.
Yeah.
And Ahsoka was nowhere to be found. So I noticed like in the community, people are kind of like, oh, what's up with that? That's definitely going to be the, the Funko Shop exclusive. And then, I was thinking like last year there was 4 commons, 1 exclusive to Funko. And now like the Ahsoka one got put up on Amazon really quick, which they've been doing recently. And then they take it down because it shouldn't have gone up yet. So that's clearly not the Funko Shop exclusive. So I'm wondering if there's going to be another one. Some people think maybe it'll be Boba Fett, which would make sense to me.
It could be, yeah. I was gonna say it's not. I don't think it's a Funko. Besides the fact that you saw it pop up, is because I also saw pictures of the back of the box showing all 4 in the line. And if it was a Funko Shop exclusive, it wouldn't have been on that. So the Ahsoka is one of those. So yeah, maybe there is a 5th one that we just don't know about yet. That'll probably drop, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Boba Fett would make obviously the most sense specific to that line, but I guess we could see. But was there any other news besides we're going to get into the rumors now?
Those are the big news. So I think it's rumor time.
Big news. So now we're going to get into rumors. Like I said, we'll do this quickly every episode if we have any rumors. We basically, there was a lot of rumors. I mean, we follow a few different sites and a few different, pages and stuff on Instagram that show off some rumors. Like I said before, a lot of this stuff has come to fruition. It actually happened. But before we say it, we're going to tell you right now, this is strictly rumors. None of this is official. Funko has not announced this officially, nothing like that. But these are just things that got us super excited because if they do drop, and once we see what they look like, we'll probably go crazy because these are things that excite us. But yeah, right off the bat, we had a few sodas. So there's a rumor for a Wall-E soda, which I think that's going to be awesome. This being a Disney episode that it's fitting. Muppets as well. And like your shirt that you're wearing, Haunted Mansion, which I know you would love.
So pumped for that. Like it looks like they're going hardcore with Disney sodas going forward, which I'm really excited about because there have been few and far between. So
yeah, I think this year overall, I think this year's sodas are going to be insane. I think we're going to get so many different ones. There's going to be a lot of announcements, but I think a lot of the major players are going to be involved. I think this is where we're going to get our Star Wars. I think Disney specifically, because even though we have some Disney, there's a lot of Disney missing. So I think Disney is going to go heavy. I think Star Wars is going to be heavy. I think something happened with that license or something, and they were able to finally work it. That I think this is the year we're going to get a ton of that stuff. So those are some of like the big ones. We also had a couple Halloween style horror pops. So Leprechaun from the movie Leprechaun, which I believe there's not one yet. So that's a pretty cool one to see. There's another Sam variant, which Sam from Trick or Treat, one of my favorite characters in movies. There's a variant of him kind of like grinning, which supposedly is going to be coming out. And then a 2-pack of Chucky and Tiffany from Bride of Chucky. That's pretty cool. I'm surprised they haven't done a 2-pack. I know they have them individually, but I don't think they have them in an actual 2-pack.
That's also they make a Tiffany Funko Pop.
Yeah, they make an individual one. Yeah, they do. They make one of her and they make one of Chucky from the Bride of Chucky. But as a 2-pack, I guess is what makes it a little new. And then we also had, I know you've been talking about this. We kind of mentioned one of these before, but they're going to start making movie posters.
Yes.
And if you guys aren't, familiar with that, the easiest way to describe it is if you've ever seen the Funko Pop albums or the comic covers, that's essentially what this is. But it looks like it's closer to the comic cover or the game covers, but they're making it for a movie poster and with a pop. Like we don't know exactly what it looks like. We just kind of know the poster. And one of the ones that was announced is Iron Man. So the original Iron Man, which started all of this whole big
which
craze
leads me to believe
Marvel,
we will probably, if it does well, we will get every MCU poster because they're starting off with the first movie.
Yeah, it's a perfect one to start with because they could totally then go down the line and do the other 20 and whatever and like milk this one as well. But I mean, I think it's a cool line. If it's one of your favorite movies, I think that's gonna make, don't go crazy and just collect them if you just want to collect them. I think they take up a lot of room. It seems like if they're going to be similar to the other ones that were used, like comic covers. But yeah, getting like a movie or a favorite movie, because like we've seen I Wars as one of them as well. Yeah. So Star Wars supposedly is going to be one of them. I think Jurassic Park, I saw at one point.
Is one of them as well.
So like, so
those are the 3 big rumored.
Then that's pretty cool because they're big movies and they make sense. But if they make one Star Wars, they're going to make every other movie. And
they have with Marvel. They have to make them all. And like, it's funny for someone who loves, and I've said in the past, like the comic book covers are one of my favorite lines. This to me is like gonna trump that. And like that,
Oh yeah.
to me, this is a brilliant idea. It'll be the best one that they've done out of like all of these covers. I think it's better than albums. I think it's better than the comic book covers. Like, I just think it's brilliant, and they have a lot to work with.
Oh
The
yeah.
one thing is I really hope is we're getting new pops that are in these, that they're not just going to reuse a mold, because that I'll be upset with.
Yeah, which it seems like at least with the albums they did that. You aren't really getting reused molds,
Yeah.
so I think they should do that. But it's also going to be interesting to see like how, like, what is the pop?
I know it's going to be,
because a lot of these movie posters have multiple
characters,
multiple characters on it, multiple looking pictures, or just a face or whatever. So it's going to be like, what is the actual mold that they use? Because obviously, if it's Iron Man, for instance, they could clearly just use an Iron Man and it would make sense. But some of the Star Wars ones, some of the ones are going to be like, is it going to be multiple pops? So they're only going to have one. So I guess we got to wait and see, because right now, like I said, these are just rumors and we haven't officially seen them. But that's, I know, one that definitely excites us. Another one is diecast. So we have another rumor of so we don't want to say this is the next in line as the fifth, because right now we have 4 officially dropped and sold, right? But this is at least the newest one that we've seen as a rumor, right?
Yes.
And it is
Sam Wilson as Captain America. So we were going back and forth about this. Like, I mean, obviously we're going to want to add this to the collection. He's become one of my favorite characters, but it's interesting they're already making another Captain America, which then leads us to believe, is this line no longer going to be as exclusive as we thought / wanted to be? And is Funko just going to keep banging these out if they've already decided to make another Captain America one? It's an interesting choice. I think there could be reasons why, they may have chose to do this one next, but it's just an interesting choice.
Yeah, I agree. I was going back and forth too, because I'm like, this is cool. It probably will look amazing in diecast, because he's
his suit's
kind of
awesome.
armored up. He's got wings still. Even the soda version that they came out with, the chase, he's metallic, so I could totally see like the shininess and how it would lend well. The way I looked at it initially right off the bat was, this is a brand new line, right? So we're getting the very first versions of any of these characters in a diecast. So in my mind, I would see the biggest, most major version of a comic superhero, right? And that's what happened when we got Captain America, Iron Man, Batman. And that's why when I initially Wonder Woman dropped, I wasn't surprised that it was one of the first few, but I was surprised that it was the fourth one. I was like, all right, maybe I would have thought Superman. And then honestly, Wonder Woman would have been the next one that I would have thought. But I think it still looks cool. It's a Wonder Woman. I think it's going to be amazing. If the fifth one is actually this one, it is interesting because, like I said, Charlie was saying, there's already a Captain America, right? Of course, it's Steve Rogers. It's a different version, but it's not like this is Falcon. Like, if they dropped actually just Falcon as a character, it would make sense. But now they're kind of duplicating the Captain America, even though he's technically different. I know that show just recently dropped, so maybe that's why. But in my opinion, there was some other characters they totally could have done first.
I agree.
But it brings up the fact, like what you said, not just the fact that like that's what's happening. Now it's just making it seem like if they're already kind of going with other characters that aren't necessarily the biggest, then we're probably going to get a lot more of these, more than we, really wanted, because we wanted this to be very limited. Now, maybe we're wrong. Maybe this is just one of a few that they just had in mind that they think would look the best. But I just hope that there's not like 50 of them. And then you're like, well, can I collect all of these? They take up a lot of room. They're expensive, as versus like just being very, very exclusive pieces. And this is another thing. I don't know if you saw in the actual announcement or the rumor, is that it's not going to be a Funko Shop exclusive. So that means that this is going to be, so that means that this is going to be widespread as just like a common release. And in that case, that sucks, because then that means that they're probably just going to make a ton of them. And so I don't know. So I guess we're going to see.
I miss that. Oh,
yeah. So we got to see, and I don't know. We'll know for sure, but that is something that's interesting. Again, that's just another rumor. And another rumor I just wanted to bring up real quick, just because of the show that's going to be coming out, Moon Knight. And I'm pretty excited for that to be coming out.
Yeah, it's going to be
one
awesome.
of the newest Marvel shows. So there are an announcement. Well, there was a rumor that there are some pops coming out. Majority of them are going to be glow in the dark ones. So that's pretty cool as a variant. Kind of makes sense, I guess, to see what the molds look like. I think that'll be something that could lend some pretty cool looking pops, depending on the line and who
I
the
mean,
the villains and stuff are going to
I
be.
totally agree. That's going to be a huge line, and they'll probably, like every other Disney Plus show, they're going to make tons of them. But they don't make many Moon Knights, and the ones they do are pretty much grails. And I think like this is one of my most highly anticipated shows. I mean, we don't need to get into all Moon Knight, but make a long story short, if you're not familiar, he's kind of like the Batman in the Marvel universe, like in terms of being, he is just more of a totally gritty, like type of street hero. And I think this line is going to be pretty sweet. Obviously, we expected it. There's been another rumors like there's going to be pops for the new Lightyear movie, which is the new Buzz Lightyear Pixar movie that's based off of the actual astronaut that the Buzz Lightyear toys after. Which, I think that movie is going to be brilliant. So we're starting to see like, they're definitely going to be pumping out a bunch of pops for all these new movies that are coming out.
Yeah, so those were some of the biggest rumors that were either like wow rumors or stuff that we really got excited for because of the line or whatever it might be that's actually supposedly coming out. So of course, try to remember this because hopefully in a future episode we'll be talking about them again, but in the sense of actually being dropped in pre-orders and them being official, which is hopefully what we will get out of this. But with that being said, we're going to get into the rest of the episode, which is going to be about, our guy here, Mickey,
Disney,
and the Disney. So Disney in general, I know I'm going to hand over the reins to Charlie on this one because Disney is definitely his thing. I mean, I love Disney as well, but I know he knows a little bit more about it. So we're going to get into just Disney, Funko, and Disney in general, and just get us going for the rest of the episode.
So we're going to talk about a bunch of Disney collectibles that are kind of within the vinyl world, but obviously we're going to start off with Funko. I mean, they've been making Disney Pop since basically the very beginning. It's one of their OG lines. And what I always found really interesting, and the first pop that I actually ever got was a Disney one. It was from the Disney store. So the first original ones that they came out with were Mickey. They came out with a Woody, Buzz Lightyear, Monsters Inc. characters. Then kind of continuing with the Toy Story line, they were Disney store exclusives, and they had the box. It said that up in the top where it normally now just would say Disney. And they were not bobbleheads. They were just vinyl figures. So I actually have an Emperor Zurg one, which he just looks like a vinyl figure, almost it has the pop look, obviously, but it reminds me more of what now a soda is. And it's really, I always found that really interesting. Then they ultimately made those characters again in bobblehead form. Like there's an Emperor Zurg, there's the Disney store one that doesn't have a bobblehead, and then there is the one that then afterwards they reproduced that doesn't say Disney store on it because they stopped being exclusive to there. That just says the Disney store. So they've really have experimented with the Disney line. And as everyone knows, Disney's just grown more and more. And, because then you have all the Pixar pops, you have, all of their different animated pops, live action pops. I mean, there was the Pirates of the Caribbean line. So when that came out, and then my favorite, which they ultimately came out with which I'll get into later, that there was these things called Vinylmations that I used to collect that were vinyl collectibles and blind boxes that were only in Disney parks, like the Disney store. They ultimately made a huge, obviously, deal with Funko where it's like they are going to become like the exclusive, vinyl type collectible because they stopped making their own and they started doing Disney parks lines, which is probably one of my favorite lines out of anything that Funko does, which is kind of going along with, how they are making the ones for the 50th anniversary, but they would make ones of all different rides, or kind of the first one that they ever made was of Haunted Mansion, which I unfortunately don't have any of those. They're like huge grails for me. They kind of randomly one day made these exclusive ones of the Hitchhiking Ghost, if you're familiar with, the Haunted Mansion ride, and they kind of were just shown in Disney parks. They were just dropping in the gift shops, and they kind of, at that point, they were pretty exclusive. They sold out and they were really hard to get. They then even made Comic-Con ones of that. So that was kind of, I think they're testing, like, are these going to work within the Disney parks? And then they went on and keep making tons of different ones that I just think are so cool if you're a Disney Parks fan. In the beginning, they were only available in the parks. Now, sometimes they'll drop them on Shop Disney, which is their, retail website. And sometimes they do sell it pretty quickly, especially if it's like a haunted mansion. I'll use an example. I mean, that is like a huge cult following. And they've come out with, Pirates of the Caribbean ones, Splash Mountain ones. I mean, I can go on all day. Like, I just love this line, and it's, Disney is so huge, and they just have so many pops. I mean, Mickey alone has, so many.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Disney line, and I just think it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger, which is, it's awesome if you're a fan.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know what's good about it is that Disney, like Mickey, it itself, like there's so many different Mickeys, there's different colors. I know they came out with all the colorful ones where like they were like muted colors and
Yeah,
stuff,
they
and those
were
were like some of the OG ones.
Yeah, so when Mickey had his 80th anniversary, they did an exhibit actually in New York City, which I went to, and they actually made exclusive Funko Pops for that exhibit. So they made them all these different colors, and they had them in the Funko shop. So it was, yeah, they've totally milked Mickey, which is super interesting though, that when they made those, they were the mold of the original #1 Mickey, and
Mhm.
all of those pops actually say #1 on them, which I find
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, they kept it, and they just redid the colors of the
Yeah.
box, whatever. But yeah, that's a huge one. I think another big line for Disney specifically is Pixar. I mean,
Yeah.
Toy Story alone, like you said, is some of the OG. Like if you ever look back, there's a way you can look at the list of like when they drop specific ones in the numbered order, and some of the, besides Mickey, obviously, some of the really OG ones are like Woody and Buzz and even Lotso. Like they have a
Yeah.
few of those that are like crazy grails right now. Like if
Crazy.
you get the OG original ones, and then Monsters Inc. was a big deal back there with Mike and Sully, and then like it started kind of just like little by little getting a couple other Disney specific characters, and then more Pixar ones, and then now when Pixar movies pretty much come out, they're dropping
Big
new lines for
lines.
them. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that there's even the aliens from Toy Story. They had their own
Yeah,
version,
the
their own line,
remix, which
the
was that was a cool one.
remix. Yeah, which is all the aliens as characters from Pixar movies. So like it's just such a big line that we know is not going to go anywhere. And then finally, we started getting some more of them into sodas. Like we mentioned in the beginning, I think Disney sodas are going to be huge this year. But in the last couple of years, we finally got a Mickey. We got the Steamboat one, and then we got a Vampire Mickey. Those finally are now coming out, which makes sense. I think they need to make more of like the core Disney, characters. But we do have some Pixar sodas. We have a
Yeah, one of
couple
the
other
first
Disney
one they made was
shows.
Clarabelle Cow, which is a totally like
Very
OG, like
random.
that was like one of the first sodas I had to get, because I was just like, this was like such a random character. They do not make a Funko Pop, which I had mentioned in a previous episode too, or when I did my top 10 sodas of the year,
Mhm.
how I said Professor Al was one of them. Like they were
Yep.
starting off the Disney ones with really obscure characters that didn't have Funko Pops. I kind of want them to start doing a little bit of more of that. And I also feel like they got to continue that line with like the OG like characters when it was just like the black and white animation. Like, why just make that one? I wonder if it
Yeah.
didn't do well. It's just interesting that they kind of stopped with just her, because there's other characters they could have continued with.
Oh yeah. Even like some of the big characters though, if you think about it, even
Yeah.
Goofy and Donald and all them. So like there's obviously still mini. We still don't have a mini. So like there could be a mini soda. Like so like those make sense. And then I know Disney's one of those ones that they also will take those main ones and they'll milk them into like specific holidays or specific versions, and
Yeah.
they'll
There's
come out with like some of
Halloween
those.
ones.
Yeah. They'll do
There's
that Valentine's
Christmas.
Day. There'll
Yep.
be the Christmas ones. Yeah. So like it's gonna be always one of those lines that we're gonna get pops from. If you're a Disney collector, there's like one of two different ones I see. Like there's a Disney collectors just because like there's so many different ones that you're a Disney fan of a specific movie, but then there's a lot of OG Disney collectors, and if you're one of those, you have a hell of a collection on your hands because those OG grails
Yeah.
are like so hard to get, and even if you're trying to get them, their prices are ridiculous because they're vaulted and they're truly not being made again. And like Charlie said, I think what's really cool is that there's probably like, I don't know the exact amount, but there's a handful of them that are part of that, some being bobbleheads, some not
Yep.
being.
Yeah.
Like
There's
I
only
know
a
the
handful
Woody
of
and the
them.
Buzz, I know they do those.
Yep.
And the box is also different, correct? not
Yeah, the
just the
box
fact
is
that it says
yeah.
bobblehead or
Yeah,
whatever.
and it had those are the Disney Store pops. So it legitimately had the Disney Store logo at the time, and they were like they were truly. It didn't just say Disney Store, like they were exclusive. That was like where you were getting the Disney Funko Pops at the time. But that was when like Funko is not what it is today. There was select few, and these were just a collectible that they, they were kind of like, okay, we want to get into the Disney brand. They probably got that license, and Disney was like, okay, we're going to sell them in the Disney Store.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Disney's been there from obviously the very beginning of, Funko's success when they really got into the pop line.
Yeah. And I think of this with that, and also with like, there's a couple lines like sports and stuff like that, where even though they're like older pops, because I always think of Funko being older than it really is, but I think
Yeah.
of that because they come out with old shows or old movies. So then that's why I think it's in my head. But in reality, they're not that old. So sometimes, like the fact that Lotso, right? He's
Yep.
from Toy Story 3.
Yeah, I
And the
know.
fact that he's one of the original and one of the OGs, and I'm like, but there's two other Toy Stories before that. Like, there's a couple lines that has happened where I'm like, this is just when I guess like Funko really was out, and maybe some of these cartoons and these movies and shows, like maybe we're just that old that like they have been out for so much
So
longer.
long.
So like
And the
that's
line
another,
was
like,
so
because Toy
small.
Story came out a long time ago.
Time
When you really
ago.
think
I
about it,
mean, yeah,
yeah,
it was like the first real, CGI, animated movie feature length. And it's like, it's hard to think that
yeah.
like there's so
Especially
many
because
of them now.
because I've seen it so many
Yeah.
times, and my daughter still watches it to this day, the first, the second, the third, and I'm like, wow, but they really were that old, and those are some of the original ones. And like, because like I have a Buzz, a pretty old, it's not the original one, but it's like one of the older ones, and I
Yep.
think a Woody. But like, yeah, they're not like those super OG ones. And like those are just like, I think
And
Toy
it
Story
even
alone has a
shows
very
like
big line.
they do, but even shows like how old they are. It's kind of like they just said Disney or Disney Store. Like now
Mm-hmm.
the new Toy Story ones say
We'll
Toy
say that.
Story when
Yep.
like, just like everything else, it says the movie that it's supporting. And the other cool thing is before the cons, where Funko had a huge presence at all the Comic Cons and they have a ton of pops, like there were some select few super limited ones, and Disney has a lot of them. And then even from the beginning, when Disney started doing their own convention, D23, I mean, they would also get exclusive pops, and like those are some
Yeah.
really sought after ones. It's like the Incredible ones, like the original Incredibles, like
Yep.
it's
Yeah, with
just,
that cool sticker too, the
yeah,
Mickey, like the
Mickey
Mickey
ears. Yeah,
looking
it's
stickers.
super
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, I like that they're like from the beginning of when, because obviously Funko, like we said, it's not that old, but like they really were started off as like a bobblehead company. And like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't until like they made the pop figure, which, to this day, like some people think that's like the only thing Funko makes. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you're not like a fan, like that's when they really exploded, and Disney was there from the forefront.
Yeah, which is good because I mean, there's enough characters, and we love Disney enough to like that could draw people in alone, just like
Yeah.
pure Disney collectors, Mickey collectors, things like that. So like, there's obviously the princesses. So like, I know that's a whole nother line, which we feel like sometimes they milk a little bit too much because they'll come out with so many different variations and versions of them. But there's Disney princess fans out there that are just
Yeah.
strictly love that and like collecting it. But I'm happy that now that finally is transitioning up. This was one of the reasons why I said I think Disney is going to be huge in the soda game this year, is because we're going to get Ariel as the first, from the Little Mermaid, the first princess soda. So I think that's just going to open it up because there's so many princesses that obviously if they're going to do one,
They're going to do money at multiple.
So I want to say in quotes, they should do all the other ones because there's all the other obvious ones that they haven't done. Like they still only have made 2 out of the 4 guys from Kiss. So that's like a weird thing. It's like, why haven't I just finished that? So I say that, but I see them still doing the rest of the princesses. But yeah, they've done some villains. They got Maleficent and stuff like that. So it's like they need to be doing Sleeping Beauty. They need to be doing Cinderella. They need to be doing, the rest of them. So I think this opens it up, and it's cool that it's Little Mermaid. I know that's my wife's favorite, so that's a cool one to start off with. But yeah, Disney's going to be big, I think, in this year. Like you guys heard it here. I think soda wise, it's going to be huge. And I mean, we know pop wise, they're going
they've
to
been
keep
really
dropping
big in
stuff.
like the pop pins, like in the background. If you're watching on YouTube, like I have a Haunted Mansion one, which, those are also like, I like that they like they ultimately made a Haunted Mansion line when it was Anniversary that were commons that you found in stores, but a lot of the stuff has been Disney parks only or Shop Disney, like this pin is. And then even like another thing we get into, if you're a Disney person, like they're collecting pins at Disney was like Disney's always made something for people to spend their money on. To collect pins is still really huge. But then when they did it in the Funko game, like right now, I have like a Haunted Mansion. Obviously, you see, I have a Haunted Mansion. I have legitimately everything they make of that. But so this is just like a normal size pin that they came out with. So I love that Disney was making pins on their own, but they've also now, partnered with Funko to make pins, not just like the big, pop pins, but just, smaller, normal size pins that they would make, which is really cool. So, I mean, they even talk about Disney too, like obviously Funko owns Loungefly, like that's a whole other thing too. The Disney Loungeflies are huge, like the mini backpacks, like they, that's a whole collectible item in itself. So you can see, it's just we can keep saying it over and over, like Disney is definitely, it's probably their biggest license. I know like Lucasfilm and Marvel probably all separate, but it's still all owned by the Walt Disney Company. I mean, they're definitely keeping Funko, I want to say afloat. Like without those licenses, like Funko would probably not be, I know Funko would still be pretty popular, but it would not be what it is without them. I truly believe that.
Getting Disney and getting anything under Disney by getting Disney is such a big deal for almost anything. Like if you think about any type of merchandising, any type of figures, any type of shows, if you're like a streaming service and you have rights to play anything that's under the Disney umbrella, like that's like a big deal. So like now Disney has its own way of doing that because they want to still keep their own money. But yeah, it's got to be for Funko. It's got to be one of their biggest things, like specifically, like, and we're talking about Disney. We don't even want to talk about Marvel and Star Wars, like you said, that's Disney under line. There, but just Disney specific. Of course, Pixar is kind of technically their own branch, but it's very specific to Disney. So like in that aspect, like, yeah, Disney's huge. I mean, and I think that toys will always be a big deal for Disney because normally a lot of Disney animated wise at least lends to kids and to children, so toys and action figures and things like that are always going to be around. So Funko's still that in a sense, because funny, I want you to mention this actually. Funny thing, as us, we're collectors, right? So we see Funko Pops, it literally actually says on it, I think this is not a toy, right, or whatever. But what did they tell you when you tried to get a new box?
Yeah, so
tell us that story.
Yeah, I'll tell this story because I mean it was a Marvel pop, so I know we said it's not part of the main Disney line, but I'll say it anyway. So I got the Watcher pop, and it legitimately came crushed. Like it was the one time too. Funko normally does a pretty good job like packaging, whether it's in bubble wrap or sorter. This was in nothing, and I emailed them. I know most of the time they'll send you a new box, but in my opinion, like I just wanted a new. This is still in stock on the website. I emailed them, and they're like, yeah, the best we can do is send you a new box, which like as it is, like Funko Pops, like they're meant to be taken out of the box. This is officially from Funko. And they were like, as long as the pop is protected, that is the point of the box. So I'm sorry that your box came crushed, but we can send you a new box if they're available. But I'm like, they wouldn't even budge. I mean, as a huge loyal Funko person and spent a lot of money with them, I was a little disappointed. I kind of told them that, but yeah, they say take them out of the box. But I find a little hypocritical. Then why are they putting special Funko stickers on? They know their audience, but
of course,
I just thought it was a little ridiculous that they couldn't send me a new one. I would send them the other one back. Like that's what they don't really have a return/exchange policy, which I never really thought of before, which is kind of messed up.
Yeah, which now that you like try to go through that situation, you kind of see why or whatever the heck they're doing with it. But yeah, I just thought that was funny because it's like they tell you like, oh yeah, these are supposed to be taken out of the box. So it's like whatever. So in that case, yeah, I mean, either way, we that's us as collectors. But like I said, there's still in my eyes, it could still, well, not in my eyes, but to a lot of people, they could be looked as toys. Like people that don't collect, they like, oh, that's a toy, it's a figure. You give that to your kid, they play with it or whatever. So like I think being like in the animated side, Disney is so huge for making, you know,
Yeah,
pops and like,
you definitely get them for kids, especially if you can get retail for ones that are kind of like, I have a 2.5-year-old son. He loves Spider-Man. He also loves cookies. So I got him the Spider-Man gingerbread one. He's like, Spider-Man gingerbread. He loves it. And like has the pop, plays around with it. And you know, he looks up. That's like the one bad thing though. Before I even gave him that, like he sees them and he's like, Daddy's toys, and like he wants to play with them. Like he doesn't
yeah,
understand. So I mean, they lends the look, even just lends to like children wanting to play with them. So yeah, I
yeah,
mean, Disney once again is just like a perfect license to have.
yep. Yeah, especially with all the new movies, all these, like we talked about it before, like the movie Encanto, when before it came out, the whole line came out. There was like a ton of them. We didn't know who they were and whatever. And I've actually seen the movie since, and now I'm like, I know who the characters are, and I understand why they made certain ones, and they actually look cooler because now I actually was able to see the movie. My daughter is actually like currently obsessed with that movie, watches it all the time. But yeah, same kind of thing, like you said, like she knows these, she sees them, she knows she's not really supposed to touch them. So what happened is I've given her a handful of just random ones that I had loose or doubles or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, you can just play with these, whatever. And now she like plays with those, so she's actually not touching daddy's toys that are on the wall. But yeah, Disney, I mean, I know you love it because like you're a hardcore Disney park fan. You're hardcore Disney World. I actually have been to Disney World only twice in my life, and once was kind of recently, and I loved it. And I want to be one of those people that goes consistently now because of
I've
how
been
awesome it
going
is.
to Disney World since I was very, very little. Like the first time I went, like I think I was 5 years old, and I've gone basically a couple times every year ever since. Like I'm part of Disney Vacation Club. For any of you people who are aware of what that is, like, yeah. So I'm hardcore. I always collected some sort of Disney memorabilia, which I mean, I can get into. Like I mentioned earlier about these Vinylmations. So I actually just took a few from my collection. Like this one, this is what they are. So they were all, they look like Mickey, but they're just this little vinyl figure. They even, you know, made ones that were blank canvas, which you can kind of create your own, which I know Funko then kind of copied. And they would be anything. Like this one, I got in Disneyland Paris. So like that's what this one is. And I also got I went to their resort in Hawaii, and this is like the mascot for Hawaii. So they always would have the Mickey ears, and some of them will just have Mickey on. And you know, they kind of retired these a few years ago, and that's like when I was saying like Funko became like the new premium product. So like when a new movie would come out for Disney, like I have Star Wars ones, I have Marvel ones, like they made them for everything, not just Disney characters. Disney park rides, like I have a huge collection of this actually. I was obsessed. Like this was like my gateway actually into Funko. And I was really bummed when they stopped making them. But then that's when I was saying the parks came alive to having merchandise. So when a new ride would open, or like, for example, when Galaxy's Edge, which is the Star Wars land, when that opened up in Disney World and Disneyland, they came out with special pops with like a Galaxy's Edge opening sticker. For that, they sold them only at the parks. Then they put them on the website as well. But when, you know, the new Avengers campus opened in Disneyland, they came out with this there's a Spider-Man ride, so they came out with the Spider-Man from that and an Iron Man. Like they've been doing that with rides, which is really cool. So like I said, Funko kind of took over, and now it's the 50th anniversary, so Disney's really, you know, leaning to their fans. And actually some of my wife got me for Christmas, which I was super pumped about. I took it out to show you. I haven't opened it yet. I think I'm going to do an unboxing video of it, but they made 50th anniversary Vinylmations. So if you can see on the screen, like that's an example of like what they look like. I just showed you it in person, but like just how Mickey and Minnie, they made a bunch of different characters.
Oh wow.
And this is like the whole box. It's the only way they're selling it actually right now, which is not what they normally do. So they're a blind box. That's like another thing about them. Funko, in my opinion, definitely got this idea from Disney. So before they were doing like, these are kind of what Funko's mystery minis became.
Mystery minis, yeah.
So blind box, there was a series, whether it was a Disney Parks one, it was a Pixar one, a Star Wars one. So there normally would be sometimes between 10 and 12 in the series, and there was a chase too. So you'd always want to get the chase, and you didn't really know what the chase was until someone ultimately got it, or you know, the internet leaked it. On the box it would just show the mold of Mickey and a question mark. So it was always fun to, like, you know, I kind of how, a lot of people do with sodas. Like, I would just keep buying these and try to get the chase. The difference is, the one thing I've always loved about the Vinylmation series, which I've mentioned this briefly before we had our soda episode. I sometimes wish sodas were like this. So I was more inclined to buy more, knowing my chances were better to get ones I needed because there was a certain amount on the set. It wasn't just the common and the chase. I know that's kind of what their mystery minis are, but I have a few mystery minis. I never found them to be as appealing because, like, these Vinylmations, like, they're made very well, highly detailed, where the mystery minis, like, they're not, compared to all Funko's other products. So I also would be pretty cool if they did more sodas that way, but clearly not, because this makes Funko more money, because if you do want the chase, you just keep buying them over and over, and your chances of getting the common are much more common. But the Vinylmations, it was super cool. They brought this back for the 50th anniversary. Me and my wife are kind of, because she would collect them with me too. We're like wondering, like, are they going to bring these back? It's probably just for like nostalgic reasons. They've been bringing back like merchandise that was in the parks from when it first opened, all the way up to obviously the 50 years to celebrate. Because, like I said, Funko is now king, and I'm assuming they probably made a deal with them, being like, you're going to be the exclusive vinyl product. We're really not going to make any, because, like I said, the moment they stopped making these is when Funko started going to the parks.
That makes sense. Those remind me of the super plastic janky figures. And like, they're very similar to that. They're like a small, I have 3 of them. They're a small vinyl figure, and same kind of thing. It was a blind box. You have no idea which one you were going to get. There's certain ones, and then maybe 1 or 2 in each box, like of a certain version, had a chase version as well. And it was the same thing. Like, you didn't know specifically, didn't have a picture of it or anything. So it was like very, very limited. I actually got only 3 of those, like I said, and I bought those on like a whatnot auction at one point, where they were doing just like blind boxes and stuff. And that kind of reminded me of it. As soon as you brought them out, I was like, wow, they look exactly.
Which is even also interesting too, is Vinylmations, they made 10-inch ones, which are even more detailed. Like, sometimes I think it's like, did someone like used to be on that team that they brought over that started making these new lines? It's like, I know probably not, but it's just interesting that they had this in this Vinylmation line before Funko became like really big in doing what they do.
So I know you said they obviously don't make those anymore. So I don't know the name off the top of my head, but I remember being in a Disney store. It was the last time I remember being in a Disney store, like just not even at Disney. And I think I've seen them at Disney as well. They also make another type of figure, right? Where like you dress them and like there's clothing or whatever.
They're new. Is that? So it's funny. I bought one for my wife for Christmas, weirdly enough. They're super popular in Asia, and they brought them up. I think they're called like Nimino. I'm not sure how to actually it's pronounce
something a Nemo or
something, but they're become super popular. They're like little posable, like stuffed animals, but like they pose like an action figure, but they're more plushy. But they make like all different clothing to put them on. Like, I mean, even the clothing they actually make that you could buy as an adult, they make to put on. So like that, Disney is really good at like getting people obsessed like with stuff. Like, they now make other plushies that they call wishables that come in a blind package. So they come up with collections, and they make a common one that isn't in the blind package, so you can always just buy that one if you knew you wanted in the series. And then there's like 4 others that you can get in these packages. So they're very big on the chase as well, because there's a chase in even those blind packages, because they know you're going to want to try to collect them all, and you can't guarantee it, and you keep going on and on. Because they're at one point with the Vinylmations too, they even dabble with open boxes, like how a Funko Pop is, so you could see the ones you were getting. Like, I remember when Pirates of the Caribbean, I'm a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan, loved the ride obviously before the movie, but when that came out, when Jack Sparrow took over the world, Disney was making tons of merch of that. So they had a blind box series, and they also had ones of the main characters that were open, and they were different. So they really dabbled a lot in like the vinyl collectible space.
Yeah, that's actually cool. Yeah. I think Disney's just like figured it out when it comes to like making money and like,
and their fans will buy anything.
Like. Exactly. And they have that hardcore following, and because they like, there's actual like the thing with them is there's actual fans to specific characters, there's fans to specific movies and genres of movies that they have, and then there's fans of just Disney itself. Like, so like they have
Yeah.
all of that encompassed in like what they do. So yeah. So I mean, Disney's gonna be around. It's something that we're obviously super fans of. And in Funko terms, I think, you know, we're gonna continue to get more and more stuff, but Disney's going to keep dropping, even if you're just a collector, because I know maybe some of you guys aren't super hardcore Funko collectors, but you're just collectors in general. I think Disney's a big, you can be a pretty big collector just with Disney stuff that's not even Funko. Let's put it that way. Like they
Yeah.
make so many different things. I mean, there's a reason why they have Disney stores like that are just dedicated to Disney, you know, and then like because they have obviously they have Marvel and Star Wars stuff in there too, because they branch off of that. But yeah, that's kind of like yeah, Disney is it's a big line for us for sure. That's why we wanted to talk about it. I know we did some of the bigger ones like Marvel, we talked about DC and stuff, but yeah, Disney was definitely one that we wanted to really get into because we both like it. And I know there's a ton of collectors out there, you guys, that maybe you learn some stuff, because I know Charlie kind of talked a little bit more about specific Disney, like the Disney park stuff. I think is the one thing I didn't really know too much about, and how much exclusive stuff they had. And I feel like they kind of at the park thing, I feel like correct me if I'm wrong, that's not as often now, right? Like, is it something that you don't see as much now? It's
Yeah,
more just like,
I feel like the pandemic kind of hurt a little bit, and they
yeah,
started putting the ones that they were going to release on Shop Disney. I mean, at some points, like they haven't. I think what they do now too, it's kind of reminds me of like a Funko and a Comic-Con. So they have a certain, now what they do in an allotment that only is for the parks, and then they have a certain allotment that's only for their website.
hmm,
Traditionally, the main lines, they go up on the website and they sell it like that. Like if it's a Haunted Mansion one, if you don't get it when they kind of drop it at midnight or 3 a.m., because they always do it, you know, on West Coast
West
time,
Coast time. Yeah.
it's like gone. But then they put other ones on there that are still kind of like sitting on the website, but normally that doesn't happen. But and they've even made, like, I also have another one. This is an older pop I'm just going to show too. My wife also got me for Christmas that I really wanted. So this is a Parks exclusive that was for D23. It's of the Dapper Dans, which is, you know, they're on Main Street USA and Disney. They're just like, you know, guys who go around and like they sing like old school tunes and like Disney stuff. And the one thing they've really done good with the Parks line, they've made like that is not like if you saw that in the store and you're not like a huge Disney fan, especially a parks fan, you're probably like, I don't want this. Like, where's the Mickey Funko Pop? Like,
Yeah.
they've definitely done like a really good job of appealing to the hardcore like Disney parks fans, which I really like I said, when I found out they were finally making Disney parks Funko Pops, I like lost my shit. Like I was super pumped. Like I think it took them actually a little too long to do that. Like they weren't doing it in the beginning, and I could be because Disney, you know, wanted to keep that to like their own type of collectibles, and then they realized, you know what, Funko's taking over the world. We're in bed with Funko. Like let's do it, and they've done really good. But like you said, like I know you got the Spider-Man ones for the Spider-Man and the
Yeah,
Iron
Spider-Man
Man.
and Iron Man one. Yep.
It's like they put the. It's weird. Like I feel like they started to do that just to reach. They know a lot of times they do want to help their fans. I know they're making money, but it's like, you know, they probably knew this would sell. So let's also not just limit to people who are going to get to come to Disneyland, because that's another thing too, which I like. That's a Disneyland only ride that was only available in Disneyland. It was not available in Walt Disney World. So it was available at the park, and you could only get it in the New Adventures campus. And then, like I said, they put them on Shop Disney, which I was happy about. So I was able to get them because those pretty much sold out pretty quickly.
Hmm. Yeah. And I was able to get those too. So yeah, so it's interesting. So I guess we'll see if there's going to be more. Obviously, this 50th anniversary is a big line that we spoke about in the news, and there's probably going to be maybe more of those, maybe more, you know, specific ones. Maybe now we'll get some that are specific to Disney parks in that line. But yeah, I think the pandemic definitely probably is kind of what held up that. I guess they could still do the Shop Disney way, but
Yeah.
we'll have to
Because
see
they're
if they
definitely, like I
drop
said, they're
anything.
branching out. Disney Parks Pops used to really only be on their website and in the parks. Like when Haunted Mansion had their anniversary, it was like the first time they started making Disney traditionally like a parks attraction that wasn't a movie. They made a common line that, you know, there was Target exclusives, there was Hot Topic
Yeah,
exclusives,
I think I had one of
and
those in a
like,
mystery box.
yeah, I think you did. You had a Chase
The
one, which,
Yeah, Hatch
yeah,
Away or whaver her
yeah,
name was.
and now, you know, they realize like this line, I like that it's not just sold in Disney like the Anniversary line, because they know it's a big deal. I mean, and they've made them like these clearly aren't limited. So they're definitely selling these in the parks as well, but they'll probably be sitting on the shelves and they'll keep getting more and more. So I
Cool.
like that they're hitting their fan base, because not everyone can go to Disney World.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good thing that they're at least still dropping them in places where you can still have a chance to at least get them, so that
Yeah,
you don't have to go there. But the exclusivity of having something that's only specific to the park is pretty cool. So I
cool.
mean,
I liked
even
that.
yeah, even if they do that, it'd be cool. But I think yeah, this year I think we're gonna have some more stuff coming out. I'm excited. Like I said, I think sodas is gonna be a big deal for them. I think they have a huge opportunity to continue to make specific Disney characters for sodas. And I'm excited to see if they do some of those smaller, obscure ones and even some of the mainstream ones that we still haven't gotten. Like, I think they should be doing those as well.
Yeah,
But
I mean, I totally agree.
that's going to be our episode today. So we got a lot of information about Disney. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know we'd like to mention, just make sure that you guys, if you guys like this video, like it down below for us. Also comment. I know we brought up a couple of different topics and some questions and stuff. So make sure that
Yeah.
you're answering us in the comments, as well as subscribing to our channel. Thank you to everybody who has already been subscribed to our channel. We really appreciate you guys. I know we have a lot of hardcore people that follow us a lot, and we have the
Yeah.
hardcore fan. We're just trying to grow that now. So continue to follow us, subscribe to us, and check us out on Instagram as well as our individual ones. All our handles will be underneath here. If you guys are watching on YouTube, if you guys are listening, hop over onto YouTube and check us out there as well. But that'll be all from me. Charlie, anything from you?
Yeah, just reiterate everything that Meg just said. And like, yeah, comment, like, I'm curious if there's any Disney collectibles that you guys collect that we didn't talk about today. I know I only talked about like some of their main ones and obviously Funko. Just curious, because I've collected a ton of Disney things over the years, and what you guys may be passionate about. And if there's any, Funko, I know Disney has a huge line, but like, let us know if there's anything that you want them to make that they haven't made, because it's always fun to find out like there may be these obscure characters that you want that they haven't done. And yeah, I'm interested in that. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious
Disney.
to
I
hear
mean,
you say.
Disney's been
Yeah.
around for so long, so there's probably a movie or show or character that we completely aren't thinking of that we'd be like, oh wow, that would be cool to see in a pop maybe that they don't make already.
But yeah. So everyone, thank you, for listening. And like I said, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this with all your family and friends. And until next week, we'll see you soon.
Take it easy, guys.